What is going on, folks? Welcome to the final episode of the Fire Within series. This has been so much fun creating. But before we get to that, I want to invite each one of you to join me in 2026 on Team VARLO. Since meeting one of the owners, Saj, at Ironman 70.3 Oceanside years ago, I have been hooked on this company. Their passion, their vision, their inclusivity, and this community they have built is incredible. I've been on the team for a few years now, and I will tell you, before joining this team, I never received the type of support that I receive on a race course. The Hype Squad, the community, the products, all of it is second to none in triathlon. But check out the link below. I can guarantee you will have your funnest year ever in triathlon. And hey, I'll let you in on a little secret. I am going to be the captain in 2026 for California. So if you are in my area, we'll be talking, we'll be meeting up. It's going to be fantastic. I can tell you 2025 has been amazing, but I have the inside scoop. 2026 is gonna be even bigger. Check out the link. I hope a bunch of you join me, but now let's get to Ironman 70.3 Santa Cruz race recap.
From Brea, California, Chris Elmore.
Well, I am home from Santa Cruz, left at 3:45 this morning, just unloaded everything, need to unpack a little bit, put some things away. But later today, I will hop into a race report just to give you guys kind of a short overview as to how the race went. All right, well, the day is pretty much done. It is 7:15. I am hoping to be in bed in 90 minutes from now. Got home today, which I talked about earlier. All the gear is put away. The bike is back on the trainer. Have not wiped it all down yet. Need to do that. Need to clean the chain. But all of my stuff is in the laundry, and most of everything else is put away. I actually have started to, instead of putting everything away in my bins and putting them up in storage, I have started to leave out the things that I will need to take to Spain for the 2025 World Championships in Marbella. I have to take less on that trip because I will be flying there. I don't have the luxury of driving, so I don't get to overpack. So I've got to start putting that together, and international flights, they are a lot more strict on how much weight. My bike case can only weigh 50 pounds. When I fly here within the US and Delta, I get 70. So working through all of that, but that's really what is next. This video is about what happened yesterday and over the weekend. Really just a race report in a sense, not too long, kind of just the highlights of what happened. First off, kicked off the drive up to Santa Cruz on Friday morning. It takes about 6.5 hours to get there. Got up there really smooth, got there just before lunchtime, had a bite to eat, went and checked in right away. Got a great AWA spot. I was 194, so I was up by the pros, which is, I got lucky, nice perk to be up there. Did a test swim. The water was incredible. The water is so blue up there. There are very little waves. There was a lot of kind of seaweed and kelp, but overall, the ocean felt great. I would say it was probably 62, 63. It was a little cool when you hit it, but after a minute or two, it felt perfect for swimming in a wetsuit. Saturday, just did a shakeout run. It was an Orange County Endurance or OCE shakeout run that we scheduled from the village at 8 a.m. And just so happens that the Ironman Lounge was gonna be there as well, and they scheduled an 8 a.m. run. And we both ended up bringing about the same amount of people to the village. And we talked with Joel over there, who is in charge of marketing for the Ironman Lounge, is what it's called. And we decided, hey, let's just combine our runs and we'll go out as one big group. So there were probably 50 maybe of us total, I would say, and did a great shakeout run on Saturday, then checked in the bikes. And that was really it for the weekend. If you saw the videos, then you know how all of that went. As for race morning, I woke up at 3:30 a.m. on Sunday, started to eat, had 2 pieces of bread, peanut butter, a banana, some honey on it. That went down really smooth, had some coffee, and I woke up feeling kind of at peace. very calm. I would say a lot of times at races, I have a lot of nerves and I just feel a lot of pressure. And I think I put a lot of that pressure on myself. A lot of that pressure comes by sharing my training, sharing my journey, my ups and downs, and sharing my goals very publicly as to what I would like to achieve. All of your support and your encouragement is amazing, but I take a lot of that and I guess carry that into the race with kind of some stress and just feeling the need to achieve the goals that I've set out. And I think making it public puts a little more pressure on me. But I woke up this race and I think I knew what my goals were. I wanted a top 5 finish. I wanted to go close to 4:35, and I wanted to have the best run I've ever had. Those were the main goals. And a Nice spot was a bonus if I got it. World Championships in 2026 will be in Nice, but they will also be there again in 2028. And I figured if I really wanted to get a spot, I could race again at the beginning of next year. I knew I had had a 16-week block. I did have Vietnam in there, but I had a really consistent, solid 16-week block of training with my coach, Tony. He felt confident with the work where I had been. He felt like he knew what my fitness was and the programming that he was giving me and the goals that he was setting for my workouts. I was hitting them and things just felt really good. So I went in with a sense of a little question as to what my bike would be like because I haven't raced, but I felt going in with this super high level of confidence in my run, in my ability to run and suffer and run at kind of a zone 5 hard running. And I just feel like that training that I did gave me a really high level of confidence going into the race. Regardless of what happened on the bike, I felt like I could come through on the run. Got in, got everything set up, got down to the race start, got the wetsuit on, and again, just still felt really calm. Got in, and I would say I went off, I don't know my exact start time, but it was definitely within the first, I think, 5 minutes of when the race started at 7 o'clock. I was pretty close in the first maybe 20 waves of every 5 seconds that went into the water. So there were not a lot of people in the water when I started, and I felt really good on that first third of the swim. I've suffered with some kind of anxiety and panic attacks in the swim in the past, and I hit the water hard. You kind of run a long ways because you're running in from the sand. You hit in the water gets about knee deep, so you're kind of trying to make that decision. When is it deep enough to dive and start swimming? Or am I still moving quick enough by kind of jumping, but you don't want to blow your heart rate up trying to run through the water? So there was a little bit of that trying to decide at the moment when was the right time to kind of dive into the water. But got in, swam hard for a few hundred meters, and then just settled in. In the past, what I've suffered from is after that first 200 to 300 meters of going hard, I can't get my breathing under control. I start to feel that panic, that the wetsuit is compressing my chest and that I just cannot get enough air. I want to get the wetsuit off. I want to roll over. I want to be done. And I didn't have that during that initial part of the race. There was a slight current from left to right, so kind of pulling into the pier. We swim down the left side of the pier, you go out around the pier, and then come back on, say, the right side if you were facing the water. And going out, there was a slight current from left to right, so kind of pulling you towards the pier, which meant kind of pulling you towards the buoys on your right. And I held the line really tight on the buoys, and I sighted really well. The sun at this race kind of comes off to your left when the sun rises, so it's never really in your eyes, which is great, because many races it's in your eyes. I did wear tinted goggles. It was not overcast that day. Visibility was amazing, and I could see the buoys really well. I felt like this was probably one of the races that I could see outside of Finland where they had a different style buoy. They have a very cone, kind of cylindrical, tall, 6-foot tall buoy, which I wish they would use here in the US. This was just the normal triangular buoys. This was probably the best I've ever been able to see the buoys. And I really maintained a straight line all the way out until about a third or maybe a little more, kind of getting towards the end of the pier. I started to get pulled to the right. And I made a decision right as I realized I was too far to the right, to cut hard left and get around that buoy. Because in my mind, I was thinking, do they care if I go on the right or left since it's not a turn buoy? But at the last moment, I kind of panicked and thought, okay, I got to get over. So I shot over and I got tangled in the rope because the buoy was shifting to the right because of the current. I got tangled in the rope on my shoulder, and it kind of grabbed my neck and burned my neck and pulled my shoulder and kind of spun me around. And I flipped around and got back in the water, but that was just enough to kind of make me panic, kind of lose my breath, lose my rhythm, and that anxiety started to set in, and I couldn't get my breathing under control. And it took a good minute of just focusing on getting back in the rhythm of breathing, slowing down my stroke, kind of having those positive mental thoughts of you are almost halfway through the swim, you're doing great, you feel good, and just kind of working my way back into a strong place in and out of that panic. And that probably lasted a minute or so, and then pretty soon I was back in swimming. Last time I swam at this race, I had the fastest swim I've ever had in a non-current or like downriver swim, or even in North Carolina in the bay, as the tide comes in, you have a current. So I would say I got about a 5-minute lead there out of the water. My swim was about 25 minutes. And Oregon, I never count because that was an 18-minute swim. So Santa Cruz, in what I would say a legit swim course, was the fastest I had ever swam. And that was 30.01. I almost broke 30 minutes. So I had that as a goal. I really wanted to hit that or faster. And I kind of felt as I was coming back in from the swim that I didn't have that swim. And I thought I was probably maybe 32 or 33 even. I really started to doubt what my swim was. But I made the decision at this race not to wear my watch during the swim or the bike. I put my watch in my transition area in my Ziploc bag, and I told myself, I'll put it on when I get on the run. I will not know how long my swim was. I'll know how long my bike was, but I really wouldn't know what my total time was, because there's been many times you're on that run and you realize you're not going to hit whatever goal it was. If I wasn't going to hit under 440, at that point, does it really matter how hard I push? You know, I'm not going to make it. I'll just slow down. I'll still maybe hit 441. I did not want to know what I had. I just wanted to know that I needed to go hard and just kind of keep myself guessing and focus on the moment I was in and not be kind of trying to figure out the time of day. So I left my watch in transition. Got out of the swim, did not see what time it was, had a pretty quick run up to transition. In Santa Cruz, it is a very long transition. It's about 0.31 or 0.3-ish, we'll say, a third of a mile from when you get out, up the sand, down a very long bike path, which is very rough. My feet are extremely sore today. The heels, I am not walking barefoot. I have my recovery sandals on, my Hoka recovery sandals. I've never actually had a real legit reason to wear them, but I'm wearing them now because I can't walk barefoot on the ground. My feet are so sore. A lot of people do put flip-flops or shoes at the swim exit. I chose not to have to try and find that. I just was gonna suck it up and run it and deal with it. And in the moment, it hurt while I was running, but it wasn't really that bad. But I'm definitely feeling it today. I got into transition and I've got to figure out what is happening in transition. I've dealt with some kind of core stomach cramps when I bend over to put my shoes on in the past, but it's usually something that kind of hits and I stand up, stretch my abs out a little bit, maybe raise my arms up, and it'll loosen. But my core cramped so bad that I couldn't get my shoes on. I couldn't bend over and I made the decision to put my bike shoes on. My distance to the mount line was very short. Figured I'd just put them on there, run out and go. I did not mount my shoes for this race. It probably would have been better to mount them. Could have gone without my socks and just gone. But I struggled with that. I actually had to lay on the ground and stretch my abs out for a second. So I was really hoping to hit about a 5-minute transition time, and I was 5:54 this year. So I spent a little more time struggling with my abs, and I finally got my shoes on after laying on the ground, got them on, got up, and then got out. And once I got out and got on the bike, I felt great. So overall, the bike on the way out felt super fast, felt really good. I did constantly get in this kind of leapfrog situation with about 4 or 5 guys where if it was flat or downhill, I would go by all of them. And then we would hit an uphill and I would go up and every single one of them would slowly pass me. By the time we got to the top, then I would pass all of them on the way down on the flats, and then the next uphill would come and they would all pass me. And this kind of went on through the whole bike, but I was never losing them, so I didn't feel like I was being passed and being dropped. I was staying pretty consistent with these guys, but it made me realize I need to do work on my climbing. I've got to do a lot of work on my climbing before I go to Spain because there is almost 6,000 feet of climbing on that course. And doing this course, which is just rolling, really made me think about the amount of work that I need to do before I go to Spain. At the turnaround, I was at 1 hour and 10 minutes, which I thought was great. I thought, man, if I can pull that off on the way back, that would be a 2:20 bike. That would probably be the fastest I had ever gone. Made that turnaround and pretty much immediately realized there was a headwind coming back. Now I felt like there wasn't much of a tailwind going out. Typically from past years, people talk about that there's a headwind going out and then there's a tailwind coming back. So you're kind of faster on the way back. This was not the case this year. There was definitely a headwind coming back. I ended up riding 2 hours, 26 minutes, and 34 seconds. So I was 16 minutes slower on the way back on that second half, which is pretty disappointing, but it felt much harder. It felt like you were actually going uphill more on the way back than it did on the way out. So I haven't really looked at the map to try and see were we slowly kind of going down and we were doing more climbing on the way back. But that combined with the headwind, it was definitely slower and tougher on the way back. Finished the bike off, got into transition, and that was really dialed in. Got in quick, got my shoes on, grabbed my bag, and was running out of transition. My T2 transition was 1 minute and 34 seconds. That might be the fastest transition I've ever had. It was perfect. I put my shoes on, grabbed my bag, and I was running. There was nothing to do. I put my bib on while I was running, put my hat on, put my gels in my back, and had my flask, my soft flask. And I got out super fast. It felt really good to just blow through transition. Got it on the run. I had my flask, which only had electrolytes in it, and just kind of started sipping that immediately. When I exited transition, my bike mechanic, Raul, was right there, and he told me, hey, you are currently in 4th place, and the 3rd place guy is about 15 seconds ahead of you. And that really kind of lit me up, and I felt like, okay, I can catch this guy. I had no idea who it was. There were 3 or 4 people I could see within kind of eyesight going uphill when you first exit transition. So I just really kind of took off and felt really good. My run, I was trying to hold back. I didn't want to overdo it. I didn't want to blow up on the first half. I knew the trail section was hard. I feel like the first half is a little more downhill running than the way back, but I just let myself roll, trying to keep a nice, fast cadence, and the miles were clicking off. When I got to the first timing mat in the run, that was at 2.1 miles. I had done a 6:16. The 3.9 marker, I was at a 6:38. The 5.6 marker, which is right before you go into the trails, I was at a 6:59. And then you go onto the dirt and the trails. It just got interrupted. My family opened the garage door. When I hit the trails, I immediately realized I was not going to be able to keep up that same run pace. The trails were in much better shape than when I did them a few years ago. They definitely had gone through and tried to fix a lot of the rutting, but there was a lot of soft dirt, soft sand that they used to try and fill in. So it felt a lot slower. I couldn't quite keep that 7-minute mile pace up. By the time I clocked 8.1 miles, that was at a 7:30 pace. And then by the time I got off the trails, kind of the back half of the trails and back on the pavement was 9.7 miles, and I ran a 7:07 for that portion. Then the last timing mat before the finish was 11.6, and that was a 7:06. The last finishing portion to get to 13.1 was a 7:09, which put me at a total average run pace of 6 minutes and 58 seconds, which, hey, one of my bigger goals than having a PR run was to run a sub 7 minute half Ironman 13.1 mile run. I have always thought I am capable of doing that on the right day. I should be able to get off and run that pace. And that was one of my ultimate goals, which I was in my mind, but wasn't one that I really stated. So breaking that 7 minute pace was kind of the cherry on top of this whole thing. Didn't matter what place I came in. The fact that I went sub 7 on the run made this entire day a success. Crossed the finish line, turned around, really was doubting based on what I got on the way back on the bike, knowing that I was 226, I was kind of close to 230, thinking about, okay, if I swam, I had no idea, 32 or 33. Thought for sure I was gonna be 440, 441, and ultimately crossed that finish line in 4 hours, 38 minutes, and 48 seconds, which, hey, I have to say I am going to count as my official PR for 70.3. And that ended up putting me in 4th place. I was never able to actually catch that 3rd place runner. And then you kind of play that game of looking at the finishers. Am I gonna drop? Is someone gonna come in faster than me that's gonna move me to 5th? Which, hey, I'm still on the podium. I would be happy with that. But I had stated early on in this, and someone commented, I had stated I wanted to get 4th place. Would have been great because I had gotten a 5th place. And at that moment, I was in 4th, but in North Carolina, I experienced coming across the line in 3rd, then dropping to 4th, then dropping to 5th because someone had started later than I did and I slowly dropped down. But this time, after an hour that I crossed the line, no one else crossed faster than I did. So I held 4th place, which was awesome. Went to the awards and got my 4th place trophy.
From Brea, California, Chris Elmore.
It is different than my 5th place, a little different design. So that is number 2 podium placement in 70.3. After all of the age group winners and 1st, 2nd, 3rd went through allocation, they started the performance pool and started going down. At this moment of recording, they have not put the age graded results up on Santa Cruz. So I still have no idea what place I came in after my age factor was applied. I know that I ended up with about a 4:09 time. I finished at 4:38. I get a 29 minute based on my factor with that time. That put me at 4:09. And they started reading off basically from the top of the age factored results, performance results, and just going through, people were taken, some people weren't there, going. I am still waiting to know, was I kind of in that top 30, top 20, somewhere in there to get my slot, or how far down was I? Still waiting to know. But all in all, fairly quickly after they started, maybe within, I felt like 10 slots being given out, my name was called, and I did accept my World Championship slot to Nice in 2026. On September 13th will be the men's race, so I am excited to have knocked that out. I will say on that run, I was redline from start to finish. My average heart rate was 176. My max heart rate was 187. It peaked on the last hill, but to have an average heart rate of 176 over that run was really zone 5, all out, that I could put out the entire way. And I just kind of kept going in my mind that this is only 90, 93 minutes, 92 minutes. Just maintain this pace. You will be very disappointed in yourself if you succumb to the suffering, to the pain. I just kept pushing. Every time I would go uphill, my quads felt like they were on the verge of cramping, and I would get up to the top and they would ease up. And every time you would head downhill, that pounding, they would just kind of get to that point where they wanted to seize up, but I just kept taking in electrolytes. I am very sore today. My quads are sore, my neck is sore, but overall, none of that matters. I am really happy, and I want to thank all of you guys for kind of sticking with me through the Fire Within series and all of the motivation, the comments, the likes, the subscriptions, all of that. The folks that came up to me during the race while running at the different events and said, hey, I watch your videos, I love the content, keep doing what you're doing. I love all that feedback. I thrive on that. It's so motivating. It makes making the videos worth it. So thank you to all of you who said something to me. I appreciate it. It was fun to get to meet you and hear where you're from and get your stories. And also a thank you to all of you that bought shirts during the series. This is just some of the folks. I won't say your last name, but you'll know who you are if you're watching the video. Danny, Dan, Evans, Greg, Rick, Ricardo, Edgar. That's all that's on this page, but those are the most recent orders. So thank you all for buying Daily Cadence wear. I appreciate the support. What is next? We go into training for Marbella pretty quick here. I've got an easier week this week, no training today because I traveled and worked, but I will be on the trainer tomorrow along with a 4-mile run. So I think I got 60 minutes, easy ride on the bike, easy 4-mile run, then ease back into the week with some swimming and some running. I think I got an 8-mile long run this weekend. And my major focus is going to be trying to maintain my swim and my run while really putting a focused effort on climbing, building my legs up before Marbella. So we will continue on from here with the videos from here until Spain. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching. If you hung out for all of this, I thought it would be shorter than this, but I guess I just keep rambling on. But that's it. I'll talk to you in the next one.